One of the things, Dave, that I love most about real estate is helping people buy their first home.
Oh, first-time home buyers. I love it.
It's one of my favorite. That and military. I got to say, two different things. But I want to talk to you about first-time home buyers today. I know you love that too. It never fails, though, that people will ask about first-time home buyer programs. So, and whether or not they even exist. Like, are they out there? Are they out there right now? And is it just for first-time home buyers? So I want to talk about first-time home buyer programs.
Let's
today.
go. So many myths out there. So I'm happy to have this conversation today.
Let's get rid of the myths, Dave.
Yeah,
go for
let's
it.
Go.
So talk to me about it. So what are the sort of programs that are out there? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, look, first of all, they absolutely are out there, and they're actually out there with abundance. There are both community-driven type programs, there's state-driven programs, there's federally driven programs, and but let's really understand what a first-time home buyer program is. What problem is that loan trying to fix? Right? That's the important thing. We don't have first-time homebuyer programs that fix people's credit for them, that change their spending habits, that teach them that paying their bills on time is important. That's not what they are, right? If you were to line up 100 potential first-time homebuyers, and we took a microphone and we went one at a time and we said, what is the single biggest hurdle that you have when talking about the potential to transition from being a renter into a homeowner? You're going to get a variety of different things, but without question, the common denominator amongst all of these people is going to be cash or lack thereof, right? Especially here in Southern California, it is just as expensive to live here as a renter as it is to live here as a homeowner. It's really wild, right? So the concept of like, hey, all you got to do is go save $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 and come right over, and we're happy to help you.
Yeah, I'll do that tomorrow.
Yeah, look, I want to know that savings plan, right? It's very difficult, Catherine, to do that here. How do most people save money? It's by being a homeowner and letting equity grow in your home, and then one day selling it or refinancing it or renting it or doing some sort of disposition method that turns it into real money, right? Otherwise, most people, unfortunately, are living, with some degree of savings, but, rather paycheck to paycheck. And that, if you want to surf in the morning and ski by the afternoon, that's just one of the things you have to deal with living here in California. There's a lot of good, but that's just one of the not so good.
So you mentioned that and you mentioned all the different types.
Right.
Why is it that one lender seems to not really have much and another lender says that they have a ton? I mean, are these programs only available to certain lenders?
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah, a lot. So that's a really, really thoughtful question. And the answer is yes. Mortgage companies, when they make the decision to go out and deploy first-time homebuyer programs, especially if these are like state or county-driven programs, you as a mortgage company have to go through an application process to be accepted and approved to issue these programs. They're looking at—
Why is that?
Well, but these programs are looking at your financial standing. They're looking at track records. They want to understand the infrastructure you're running, how you underwrite loans, how you fund loans, what is your post-close delivery mechanism, right, to get the loan over to them ultimately after we close it. Like, there's a lot that goes into it, and just a lot of smaller companies that are just not really vested in doing that. They just don't take the time or money that it takes to go through that. So
it costs you money to be able to offer those programs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's money and it's time, but time is money, right? So yes, there is definitely a expenditure of resources from a mortgage company standpoint. But on the other side, because there's plenty of mortgage companies that will do these programs where the loan officers within that company choose not to. And
why would that be? Why would they not want to offer that?
We just don't make as much money.
So it comes down to their paycheck.
Yeah, and even if you do make the same money, because a lot of that kind of stuff is becoming standardized now, which is a good thing that mortgage companies are doing, they're a lot more work. There are times where basically, and I don't know if I crystal clear answered that first question about like what do the programs do, but it's to solve that problem, which is lack of cash, right? So almost all of these programs are offering second and sometimes third loans to customers so that they can cover things like down payment and even closing costs, right?
Sure.
So sometimes as a lender, when you're doing one of these loans for people, it's like you have to process and complete and underwrite 3 separate loans. So
Wow.
you're doing 3 times the amount of work, and you're only, of course, getting paid like on one deal. So it's just, again, you know, lenders, different strokes for different folks. I can't comment as to why another lender wouldn't absolutely embrace these the way that we do, you know, but all I could tell you is that we love them, and like kind of the beefier they are, the better. We like to really get our hands into them.
But from a consumer standpoint, so if somebody's watching this right now and they are that person and they're saying, me, I can afford the payment, but I don't have the cash, and I don't have, you know, Daddy Warbucks to give me the money for my down payment and closing costs, you know, how does that consumer know who to go to as a lender to be able to get the best choice of products, to know which one is the best one for them?
It's a good question. You know, advocate for yourself, ask questions, right? So I'm here to say unequivocally that there are a plentiful supply of programs to help first-time home buyers. So that is the first thing that our listeners should be hearing right now, is they are out there.
Which is extremely encouraging.
Right? So if you told me, Katherine, that there was this really amazing pair of shoes that you wanted to get for your daughter, right? Nike, whatever's. And you went to Foot Locker and they didn't have them. Your search wouldn't end there. You would go to Champs upstairs, you would go to Amazon, you'd go through different resources to find what you're looking for. So if you're a first-time home buyer and you really, really want to exhaust the marketplace to see what's out there, go to multiple shoe stores until you feel like you've gone to the right shoe store
and ask
that has
question,
the right
say,
inventory.
what do you have for first-time
show me
home
your
buyer
inventory.
programs? How
right?
does it work?
Yeah, definitely. Because when we're working with a first-time home buyer, it's hardly ever a like, here is the one program, Katherine, that you could potentially use. We have 2, 3, sometimes 4 programs that we lay down, and we talk about, here's the pros and cons of this one versus this one. We talk to them, we interview them. What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals with this house? And by having that dialogue and that instruction, like one like immediately flies off the page, right? Where they're like, oh, no, we don't like that one.
Sure.
And we slowly kind of like whittle it down. Right. And then at the end, you see that moment in that first time home buyer's face where they're just like, they like settled into it. They really get it. They understand it. It fits well with their plans and their lifestyle. And it's most importantly addressing their pain point. Right. There could be a variety of pain points.
No 2 people are the same.
No 2 people are the same.
I have a random question. Well, it's not random, but I know that it will definitely connect with somebody. What qualifies as a first-time home buyer?
Great question. So you did you know you could be a first-time home buyer 3 times in a 10-year period? So the lending institution defines a first-time home buyer as someone who has not owned a primary residence for the last 36 months.
Not a second home.
Not a second home.
Vacation home, investment home.
We had a customer very recently, one of my loan officers in my branch, she has quite a few actually, where she works heavily in the Hispanic community. And a lot of times the kiddos live with the family unit for longer periods of time, right?
Yep.
That's kind of, it's a cultural norm, myself as well. But for well-qualified buyers, they go out and they buy a vacation home or a rental property while they're still living with mom and dad. And eventually when it's time to kind of move on with their life, or they get married or get in relationships or start a family, and they decide to buy their own home, they still qualify for first-time homebuyer programs. How about that?
So exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, so my next question is, we kind of already talked about who qualifies for it, but what do they get?
Yeah, it's generally a subsidized solution to what otherwise would be the amount of down payment and or closing costs that they would have to spend to buy a home. So we have programs that literally we could get people in a home even without a seller's participation.
Okay.
Right? Meaning we're not asking for a seller closing cost credit. Having the seller participate with us only makes these things even more powerful. But we have programs alone where we can get people into a home where their out-of-pocket expense would be less than what it would cost to go pay first and second month's rent at an apartment complex.
That's a no-brainer.
Like literally $4,000 or $5,000 out of pocket, and they could be sitting in a home that they own. Now, before we just do backflips on this and, well, why doesn't every first-time home buyer? Look, the bottom line, Katherine, if somebody has found a mechanism of saving up 5% or 10% or 15%, or they were gifted by family members, or maybe grandma left them an inheritance, right? Yeah. Whatever it may be, if they're able to come to the table with their own cash out of pocket, they're going to be left ultimately with a better loan package. Right? I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. However, if the proposition of saving $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to buy a home,
is daunting,
we're like, I mean, that is so far out of like reality to you. Then these programs are wonderful. We have, the ℒ program, which is the state of California first-time homebuyer program, will give you a second and even a third lien, and they're what we call silent subordinate loans, which means they're attached to the house, but you don't have to pay any payments on them, right? Wow. One of them has an interest rate of 0.
Wow.
And the other one has an interest rate of 1%. That's as close to 0 as you can get the last time I checked on my calculator. Yeah. Right? So what these programs are designed for, and why does the state of California do this? It's because we're going to let the house pay these loans back in the future. We're going to let the house grow in equity. We're going to let you bring your loan balance down by paying your mortgage payment every month. And there will be a time, whether that time is 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, whatever it may be, there will be a time where you're going to come back to us as a consumer and we're going to rewrite that loan. It's called a refinance, right? And we're going to put it into...
Or they might sell their home.
Right? Mm-hmm. And at the time they sell their home or refinance their home, the state of California gets their money back with a marginal amount of interest, 1%.
It's amazing.
It's really, I mean, gosh, what a bridge, right? To otherwise saying, oh, you're super qualified, Katherine, just go save 40 grand and you're good.
It's solving a very real problem
for sure, there. Especially in Southern California.
Especially in California. No doubt. I love it. So, okay, if somebody is currently renting or they're living with family, like you had mentioned earlier, and they're ready to be a homeowner themselves, where do they start to explore their options?
When you said that, I literally just got like a shiver from like the back of my neck down my spine. That is the coolest moment historically in like the life cycle of a homeowner. And having done this for 22 years, I have the absolute privilege of working not only with the borrowers that we served originally, but their kids and now their kids. It's crazy.
It's so fun.
It's so fun, right? Being able to work with families on a generational basis. But yeah, like I said to the first question, be your own advocate, right? Start searching around, ask local real estate agents. They're wonderful purveyors of information, and they know the right people in town that are generally in tune with these programs.
Yes.
Right. So do some research, right? But call around and don't accept like one answer. And here's the thing: if you call XYZ mortgage company lender, and you're talking to them, and you say, "Hey, listen, I'm really would like to explore first-time home buyers." If the feedback you're getting is, "Oh, look, those aren't great programs. Like, look, let's look at this other program here where all you have to do is save this, or maybe go ask your grandpa for a gift," or things like. If that is what you're getting in response to your question, go to another shoe store.
Yeah.
Right? That just means that particular individual, either from a lack of knowledge, a lack of effort, or a lack of ability, has decided this isn't going to be one of their products that they take to market.
They made it about them instead of about the client.
I mean, them or their mortgage company, or there's a lot of mortgage companies as well that dissuade their loan officers for doing these programs because the company definitely makes less money.
Yeah.
right? They're starting to do some things now where they're changing it, where the loan officer, because I run a large team, so I have loan officers, and it used to be back in the day that for specific types of programs, loan officers would make different amounts, right? But what they found is that loan officers were steering people towards the programs where they made the most amount of money, right? So in 2010, they did away with that and they standardized the compensation across the board so that lender Dave has no incentive whatsoever of pushing an FHA product versus a conventional product or a VA product. It's how it should have been, right? But the company that loan officers work for, they don't make as much money doing first-time homebuyer programs. Otherwise, what we call bond-based programs, right? So there's a lot of companies that will straight out like de-incentivize their production staff to sell these programs. Yeah, I mean, but that really is the accountability of the loan officer. If that doesn't fit with your value proposition, then you find another shoe store to work at. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Dave, I know that is not you or your team, and I love that. So if you are in that position and you want to explore and you want to find out more, call this guy and ask those questions, and do your research. Like Dave said, ask those questions and advocate for yourself. Hey, we have information like this for you every single week. So if you liked this video, hey, hit the like button and make sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can get all of the great content that we have for you every single week. And make sure to connect with Dave if this is something that you want to explore more. Dave, thank you as always for spending time with me.
Thank you, Katherine. Appreciate it.